In 1994, a young boy from Texas vanished without a trace. His family was devastated, and lives were completely destroyed. However, years later, he was found in a different country. To say his family was thrilled to have their son back would be an understatement. Unfortunately, this family would soon learn, be careful what you wish for. No one can understand the pain and heartache of losing a child. Whether through death or kidnapping, finding closure can be a hard thing to achieve, and for many families, denial is the best course of action. For one family, they would finally find closure, but the truth seemed almost too good to be true. Hello, story lovers. I'm Scott Leffler, and here is They thought their missing son had returned. Nothing could have prepared them for the truth. Before we move on, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and activate the notifications bell for new amazing videos. Growing up in San Antonio, Texas, Nicholas Barclay's home life was far from perfect. Not only did he fight with his parents all the time, but his demeanor was quite aggressive to other students, teachers, and family members. Nicholas seemed to have a knack for getting into trouble. Whether it was at school or at home, his parents were at their wits' end on what to do with him. At one point, they were even considering sending him off to military school, hoping that would straighten him out. Unfortunately, before they planned their next move, Nicholas landed himself in big trouble with the law due to his disruptive behavior. With a court date planned, his parents hoped this might be the wake-up call their son needed. Unfortunately, Nicholas would never make it to court. The night before the court hearing, Nicholas decided to blow off some steam with friends. A friendly game of basketball was just what he needed, and the night couldn't have been more perfect. Just a group of boys being boys. When the game finally finished, all the boys went their separate ways home. However, Nicholas vanished before making it back to his parents' home. No one ever saw him again. At first, Nicholas's family thought he might have run away. With the court date coming up the next day, they figured he might try to avoid appearing at all costs. But soon they realized something was very wrong. Soon his family realized he was missing. Many of the counties nearby were alerted that a young boy had gone missing, and flyers were distributed throughout the city. Sadly, no tips came in on where Nicholas might be. What could have possibly happened? After 3 years with no new information, the case was considered cold. While his family never gave up hope, it seemed time was not on their side. However, one day in 1997, Nicholas's parents received a shocking phone call. The police had found Nicholas. After 3 years of questions and uncertainty, their son would finally be coming home. But where had he been this entire time? According to the investigators, Nicholas had been discovered in a small town in Spain. He was healthy and mentally fine, and they would be putting him on a plane back to Texas. Soon his parents would be reunited with their long-lost son. The family was eager to learn what had happened to Nicholas. He weaved a story of being kidnapped and placed on a plane to Europe. Nicholas revealed he'd been sold into a child sex trafficking ring and wound up in Spain. Thankfully, he'd been able to escape, and the police found him just in time. Despite being thrilled to have their son back, Nicholas's mother noticed something was very off about him. Not only were his eyes a different color, but his hair as well. According to her son, his kidnappers had changed both his hair and eye color to evade the authorities. Wanting desperately to have her son back, his mother believed him. Despite the differences in appearance, his family believed they had their son back. Why would they doubt him or the police? However, a private investigator didn't believe the story that was being told. Charlie Parker had heard all about the story of the kidnapped boy who was found in Spain and thought some of the claims just didn't add up. For starters, he didn't think it was possible that someone could physically change the boy's eye color. Another key observation from Parker was Nicholas's attitude. For someone who'd been sold into a child sex trafficking ring, he seemed perfectly fine. Any child who'd gone through such horrors would show signs of trauma and most likely become withdrawn. However, Nicholas showed no signs of any impact of the entire ordeal. Charlie enlisted the help of fellow investigators to look into the case. While examining the before and after photos of the boy, they noticed something very alarming. You won't believe what they discovered. Just like fingerprints, a person's ears are completely unique. When looking at the photos, the investigators realized that the ears were completely different. Who was this person that was claiming to be Nicholas? After further investigation, the truth was revealed. The young man posing as 16-year-old Nicholas was actually a 23-year-old man from France named Frederick Bourdin. According to Interpol, he was known as the Chameleon since he had a history of stealing identities. Known for impersonating missing children, Frederick was wanted by the French police. Apparently, the young man had spent most of his life pretending to be other people, assuming their identities. Nicholas Barclay had been his latest scheme. So why did Frederick choose Nicholas? Well, the police in Spain had mentioned that they looked very much alike. This planted the seed in the man's brain to pull off a global stunt unlike anyone had ever seen before. Charlie Parker knew that he had to break the news to the Barclay family. He had no idea how they would take the discovery, but it was unfair for them to keep believing their son had finally returned. When Parker met with the family and revealed the information he had discovered, they were in shock. How had they allowed this grown man to deceive them? Nicholas's mother felt the most guilty and was dismayed that she hadn't been able to recognize the man wasn't her son. Apparently, Nicholas's uncle Jason didn't believe the young man's story from the beginning. In fact, he'd always doubted his nephew's story and wondered why so many aspects of it didn't add up. Unfortunately, Jason passed away before he could share his concerns with the police. When confronted with the truth of the situation, Frederick denied any wrongdoing. In fact, he told the police an outrageous story of his own. Let's just say it's pretty wild. According to Frederick, the Barclay family knew he wasn't their son from the very beginning. The entire reason they accepted him as their son was to cover up for his murder. The story just didn't seem very plausible, but to be sure, Charlie Parker decided to investigate things further. Parker and a team of investigators thoroughly searched the Barclay family's property for clues, but came up with nothing. They even dug through the backyard with the hopes of finding a body, but no conclusive evidence was found. Despite not finding any evidence in foul play, Parker didn't believe the Barclay family when they said they had nothing to do with Nicholas's disappearance. While the family vehemently denies any wrongdoing, there are so many strange circumstances around this case, the red flags are apparent. To say this case is bizarre would be putting it mildly, and we may never know what truly happened that night. The truth of the matter is Nicholas Barclay disappeared, and the man who showed up in his place was quickly accepted into the family, even though he looked nothing like the missing boy. What really happened? That's a question that will most likely remain unanswered. Did you like the story? Check out our channel for more.